Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today we will be in the book of John, chapter 10, and we're looking at another of the I ams of Jesus Christ. We've already looked at when Jesus said, I am the bread of life. We looked at when Jesus said, I am the light of the world. And also we looked at when Jesus said, I am the door. On this program, we're going to be looking at when Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. So in John chapter 10 here, it starts out where Jesus is talking about where he says, I am the door. But we talked about that last program. But as you go on down through here, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. So who is he talking to and what is he talking about? Well, it seems that mostly he's talking to the Pharisees. Now, there was probably some other groups of people there as well, but he seems to be really addressing the Pharisees. And he's really, actually, if you look at this and read right up through chapter 9 into chapter 10, you see that he is really, how can I say, he's kind of putting a jab into the Pharisees. The Pharisees, they really like to show off their religion, if I can put it that way. They tried to show how righteous they were, how holy they were by what they wore and by what they said, and how they made up many of their own laws, that they were actually really putting pressure on the Jewish people. They were oppressing them and making it hard for them. And they really didn't care, and I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them really didn't care about the everyday person. They were really looking after themselves and lifting themselves up. You have to remember, too, that there was kind of like an agreement with Rome and with the Jews, and especially the leaders of the Jews. And they would kind of scratch each other's back, I guess you could say, to keep things running smoothly. So they didn't like it when Jesus come on the scene, and all of a sudden now he's kind of rocking the boat. Well, actually, I should say he is rocking the boat on how they're used to running things. So they're out to get Jesus from the get-go. And when Jesus is talking here about being the good shepherd, it really seems to me that he's telling them, he's saying, look, I came. He says, I am the good shepherd. And he goes on to say what the good shepherd does. And he's comparing what Jesus came to do and how that he really loved the people compared to the Pharisees, who were there really for their own gain. Also, too, I want to mention, when Jesus says, I am, like I said, he said, I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. I am the door. And today, I am the good shepherd. When he says, I am, he's saying he alone is. He's making that point. No one else is. No, the Pharisees, nobody within that group, or no one at any time, past, present, or even future, can say that they are what Jesus says he is. Jesus says, I am. That means nobody else. And that's something so important for us to remember, even as we live in this day and age where we have so many people claiming this, that, and the other thing. So there again, Jesus is saying, I alone am the bread of life. I alone am the light of the world. I alone am the door. I alone am the good shepherd. So we need to keep that in mind. Let's start in verse 11 here. It says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who does not know the sheep sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. And here again, I believe that Jesus is talking right to the Pharisees, and he's saying, look, I'm the good shepherd. I love the sheep. And I'm not a hired hand. I'm not like you. that when the wolf comes, you'll just kind of just leave because you're not going to risk your life. He says, I'm going to lay down my life for the sheep because I am the good shepherd. I love my sheep. Verse 14, I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And here he's foretelling what he's going to do for the people. And also, too, I want to mention again that he's speaking to the Jewish people here. Even as I said, mostly the Pharisees, but the Jewish people were there. And Jesus came to the Jew first and then to the Gentile. So as he's talking here up to this point, he's addressing people that are Jewish. But we're going to see too, as I read here, I want you to pick out something here, that Jesus includes the Gentiles as well. It says, and I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. Wow. So Jesus is saying that, yes, I come to the Jew first. He said, but there are others that I've come for as well. And that's the Gentiles. That's you and me. That's anybody that is not Jewish, okay? He came for them as well. And he said there will be how many flocks? There will only be one flock. And that is so very important. There is no separation. When we come to Jesus Christ, we all are put into the family of God. We are all considered one flock. And Jesus, everything that Jesus says he's going to do for the Jewish people here, he's going to do for all those that know his voice, recognize his voice, and follow him. Wow. It says, for this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I received from my Father. And just a little note on this, we say, well, who killed Jesus? Who killed him? Was it the Jews? Was it the Romans? Or was it both? Well, yes, in a way we could say, yeah, it was both. But in reality, though, what Jesus is saying, he says this. He says, no one takes my life from me. No one. He says, but I lay it down of my own accord. He said, on my own will I lay down my life. Now sure, there was those that were instrumental in killing him and setting things up so he would be killed, crucified, I should say. But Jesus says, all of this happens because I have willfully laid down my life. And he says, I have authority to lay it down, which he did, and I have authority to take it up again. And he did that as well. We know that he died on the cross, he was buried, but he rose again. And he's saying here, it's all through the authority that I have. This charge I have received from my Father. Wow. I don't think we can talk about the Good Shepherd without reading Psalm 23, because Psalm 23 tells us that, yes, Jesus is the Good Shepherd. Jesus is the shepherd. And as we read here, look what he does for the sheep, because he loves the sheep. So let's read this and put yourself as a Christian in the flock of Jesus and how Jesus is going to take care of us. He says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I would walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Wow. Well, you put that together with what we read there in John chapter 10, I believe it was. And we see that Jesus, even as he says, I am the good shepherd, I will take care of the flock. And no matter if you're Jew or Gentile, when we give our life to Jesus Christ, we are all put into the same flock. And what does he say? He says, when danger comes, when the wolf comes, and he's talking about trials, tribulation, or even the enemy comes as far as Satan. When he comes to hurt us, Jesus says, I'm not going to run away. He says, I'm going to stand and I'm going to fight for you. With my rod and with my staff, he says, I will fight and I will stand beside you and you will be victorious. So Psalm 23, what's he say? He said, one we shall not want. He says, Jesus says, he will make us lie down in green pastures. He will lead us beside still waters. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. He says, even though you might walk through the valley of shadow of death, you do not have to fear any evil, because I will be with you, because my rod and my staff, they will comfort you. And he even goes and he says, I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Now, I've heard different things about that, but I think what it comes down to is this. When we stand firm and stand and trust in God, trust in Jesus, that he will bring us out on the other side of victorious. And when we stand there victorious, our enemies will see that. Rather they're human enemies or spiritual enemies, they're going to see how Jesus was with us and how we were victorious through him. And he says, I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. In other words, the enemy is going to watch you feast at the table of God. Not so much physical food, but in other words, the victory that you have, the celebration that you have and the victory that Jesus gave you, your enemy's going to see that. There's nothing they can do about it. They know they were defeated, and they know that you stood with Jesus, and truly you were the true victor through Jesus Christ. Okay, well, I'm out of time here almost here for this morning, so I hope that you see that, to be a Christian, to be in the flock of Jesus, that Jesus Christ is the good shepherd of, there's nothing more satisfying or more comforting than to know that Jesus Christ is over you and he's going to be with you through everything. So trust in that, believe in that, and have your faith in that. If you're not saved, you need to give your life to Jesus Christ. It's so you can be put into that flock, that Jesus Christ alone is the good shepherd. Wow. Well, I am out of time for this program. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you tune in next time. Until then, God bless.